So if you came yesterday, we were doing the simple interest. And simple interest is kind of hard to understand without the compound interest because you can see the difference about halfway through today. It's kind of hard to see the difference on the first day. So compound interest, here's the difference, but it's still kind of hard to see. Compound interest is when the bank pays interest on the principal and the previous interest. So yesterday's simple interest stopped right here. Simple interest pays interest on the principal. What is the principal again?
Money.
The money you deposit in your savings.
So the money you had is the principal, and they're only giving you interest on the principal. Compound interest banks are a tiny bit better because they're going to give you interest on interest. So they're going to give you interest on your money and the money they already gave you. So this helps people out a little bit. Also, something to notice, this balance is going to be built into the equation. It gives you the balance right away. So you don't have to do that second adding step from yesterday. A little bit nicer because it's just one step. You do not have to do another step of adding. In the formula, you're going to see the adding sign already in there. Mason.
Yesterday, the balance definition was principal plus interest.
Yes, exactly. In a simple interest, you would have had to take the principal and the interest, and in a separate step, add them together. This formula is going to just go straight to balance. See how the adding's already in there? Don't worry, I'll go back. So it's a little bit different setup, so you don't have to do this adding part. Did I clarify it okay?
Yeah.
Okay. This is why, I don't know if you have seen how many banks there are, because they're in competition with each other. So if Pete's bank is doing simple interest, Layton's bank is going to say, oh yeah, I'll beat you. I'm going to give you compound interest, interest on the principal, and the interest I already gave you before. So they're kind of competing on whose business is going to be best. Here's what it kind of looks like. So you had that $400 that you were going to try and save for a car when you were 16. Here's the interest they're going to give you. Here's what Mason said. You add them together. 1 year from now, you could go back and get your $420. Pete's bank says, well, I'm only giving you interest on your original amount. So even though you can take out $420, I'm still only using that original $400. And I'm still only giving you $20. So Pete is using this simple interest, same $400 every time. Layton has a new idea. I'm gonna try this compound interest thing at my bank. Even though you gave me 400, I gave you 20, I think you should start year 2 with 420. And as a reward, you're gonna make $21 this year. So now at the end of year 2, you'll have an extra $1. And this keeps going for as many years as you leave it there. I'm estimating it's like $22.05 or something. I'm estimating. So do you see at the compound interest bank, you can slowly make a little bit more money? So if I live in a town where Pete and Layton have competing banks, I might want to go to Layton's bank and make a little bit more money every time. And again, how could I make more money from Layton if I think $22, that's not enough? How could I make more money from Layton? Preston.
Put more money in.
Anytime you can make the principal bigger, Layton has to give you more money. Why not, right? Sounds like a good deal. I babysat a ton. Like every weekend I was babysitting. And I hated when my mom would say that. She'd make me hand her half of my money and she'd say, this is going to the bank. And I hated it. Turns out, when I needed money for college, this was getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and I was like, my mom was right. I needed to save some money. So that works for anything. I'm guessing you don't want to live at your parents' house forever, right? Right? You're going to move out sometime. Not tomorrow, even though you wish it was tomorrow. You need money to buy a house? You got to save. You want to buy a car? You got to save. Also, does anybody have a grandparent who has like a nice retirement home somewhere?
What's a retirement? I don't think I'm done.
Henry told me that his grandparents are in Arizona right now for the winter. Guess what they did? They added more and more and more money so they could have a Minnesota house and an Arizona house.
Oh.
They were saving and saving and saving and saving. Isabel.
There is a way you wouldn't really necessarily have to save, you just win the lottery. Well, you have a very small chance of winning.
Both of those are true. You could win the lottery, but the chances are not very high. So you need a backup plan. You need a backup plan.
Unless you're old enough.
Also true, Drake. You're not old enough. Layton?
My grandma and grandpa have a house in New York and in Myrtle Beach.
See? I would love that if that was in my future when I was like 65, 66, 67. I would love a house somewhere else too. But I gotta save or I'm not gonna get it. Okay. So, the formula is different because if I use Pete's formula the whole time, I can't make that extra $1 or $2 or $4 or whatever that little extra amount that Layton is giving me. Also, no adding needed in your second step, because look, there's adding right here in the problem for us.
Should we write down the words on it?
If you think that you aren't going to remember them, probably. Layton.
What's that tiny thing right by the parentheses?
It's an N.
It's an N. I'm so glad you noticed that. That is going to be really important in a minute. So the principal is the same as yesterday. Whatever money you're bringing in. The rate is the same as yesterday. Remember, if it was 4%, you'd have to write 0.04. Also, remember how the time was a little weird yesterday? Like 6 months, you couldn't just put 6. Remember how that was a little weird? The time for this one is a little weird also. It's an n as an exponent, which I'm going to explain to you more in a moment. I'm still thinking of my warm house over here. Where am I going to build it? Florida, Texas, Arizona. Oh, sounds boring. Layton?
I would build it in Texas.
Texas? You think so?
They're 100% open right now.
Well, I'm really hoping by the time I'm by retirement age that COVID is a long gone situation, never coming back, hopefully.
I started to realize that COVID, like, now it's just gonna be like unnormal as like sickness. Like after a while it's gonna be normal.
Kind
Kind
of.
of like the flu.
Well, in 1918 there was a huge flu pandemic.
Yeah.
Similar. They say it happens like every 100 years.
It wasn't like
It's been
the
every
Spanish
20.
flu or something.
Spanish flu, yep. So now it's more like,
And then it was
you're
like-
right, people get the flu every winter.
And then it was like plague or something.
Plague was.
Also, did Mr. Schlichter tell you this? She has this cool picture in the 40s, which is right around when my dad was born. There was a polio pandemic, and they were watching, or they were, it's kind of like distance learning. They were listening to their teacher through the radio because they weren't at school. You should ask her. So this isn't the first time it's happened. It's just the first time for most of us that it's happened. And it is not super fun. But have you heard that saying, history repeats itself?
Yeah.
Sure does. Okay, did we get it? All right. So it starts off looking a lot the same. Here's your principal, $400. Here's the bank, 5%, which we would write as
0.5 or 0.0.
4 years. Annually, does anybody know what annually means? Like once per year, right? I realize that the boxes did not come back super big. So if you're a big writer, aka me, I have to try to write a little smaller. So my interest rate and number of payment periods. So I'm getting interest once per year for 4 years. Once per year for 4 years makes 4. One time this year, one time this year, one time this year, one time this year. Once a year for 4 years. So now I'm going to set up that formula. How much is the principal?
400.
400.
Parenthesis 1 plus R.
What's it?
Oh my gosh, Bryn.
Oh!
I was literally going to say, what's R? And she said, what's R? R is
Yeah, 0.05.
rate, right? And then we have an exponent, number of payment periods.
Just got open.
And the distributive.
Okay, so normally this would be a really big problem, right? Distributing an exponent. So, we're learning so many new things. The calculator is going to help us because above the 8 is a parenthesis, and above the 9 is a parenthesis. Keep looking. The exponent button is really goofy. It's called a caret. So in order to have an exponent, I need to press that button and then 4 for an exponent. So there should be a blue one near you somewhere to grab and try to type.
Whoa, this is funny.
Jeez.
Someone already had the problem.
Well, still clear it so that you can try and learn it by yourself.
Oh, I did the wrong problem. 400.
Fancy.
So 400, find the parenthesis. It's above the 8. 1 plus 0.05
Don't you push
parenthesis. And then in order to have that exponent, you have to press that funny caret button above the 7.
Is this what we're going to be using for our homework? Are we going to be using this one? Are we going to use calculators in the test?
For these type of questions, yeah.
What if we don't finish? Like our homework.
Either your phone.
Our phones are not that advanced.
Yeah,
Oh,
and it's
yeah.
alright.
There's a snake bug.
Whoa. Get it? There's no carrot. You got it.
Parentheses. Look it up. Oh wait, exponent is on I don't know. Yeah.
No, it's probably this.
No square.
Wait, no.
Yeah, maybe ask them. Wait, try the problem.
It's this button.
What?
So I'm seeing a lot of people get 486.2025. But
Round.
yeah, money doesn't have this many decimal spots. So 2 tells 0 to stay. So Pete's Bank yesterday was using the simple interest formula. There's nothing wrong with it. Layton is trying to compete with Pete. So he has to find a way. He uses this new formula and everybody gets a couple more dollars every time. Now, if they're on the same corner over by Culver's, yeah, go to Layton's Bank. If they're in a whole other town, it maybe doesn't make sense to go to Layton's Bank for a couple more dollars because you spend your dollars in gas money anyway. So it just kind of depends on what you can find in your town, city, area, whatever. Now, Isabel gets this new idea. She's in business with Layton. She needs a new idea. She says, oh yeah, I'm going to offer semi-annual interest.
Isn't that twice?
Yes, Bryn, it is twice per year. idea. Layton's only giving you interest once. I'm going to give you interest twice. So here's what Isabel does. This is a year, right? January to December. Layton gave us 5% for that whole year. Isabel says, I'm going to give you interest twice a year. June 30th is the first time. Now she can't do 5 and 5 because that's 10. So she has to take Layton's 5% and do 2.5 and 2.5. She had to split his 5% in half. 2.5% for the first part of the year, 2.5% for the second part of the year.
Won't that be the same thing though?
Close. Nice observation. You're going to see in a second. So she took Layton's 5%, split it right down the middle. Allison?
Well, this isn't really math, but isn't this what you do at the dentist? You do like semi.
You totally do. Totally. If you are wondering how I got the 2.5%, it's because I took Layton's 5%, split it right down the middle. Now, same 4 years that I would be at Layton's bank, but Isabel is giving me interest twice a year. 2 times in year 1, 2 times in year 2. What? So now it's not going to be the same anymore because she is giving interest times 2. Same 400. I can't write 2.5. Got to move left twice. New exponent 8.
It took me a second.
I love how you wrote it down first before grabbing your calculator. That is how you do math. Paper, calculator, paper, calculator, paper, calculator. You gotta write it down first. Holy. Shout out if you need me to help you. Shout out. I'm seeing too many decimals on Layton's calculator. Did yours have too many decimals?
No.
Layton, will you tell me what it was?
487.36.
There was more.
Oh,
Did you already erase it?
361,159.
Last time I checked, money doesn't have that many spots, right? So 1, 12, 6 stay the same, 36 cents. So at Isabel's bank, I just made $1.16 more. If I don't like that I only made $1.16 more, I gotta put more principal in. I gotta keep putting money in there and she'll give me more. Or I can just say, oh, that's enough. I'll wait till next year. Maddie gets this brilliant idea. Layton, Isabel, no way. I'm giving quarterly interest, which would mean 4 times a year. Layton had his 5%. Isabel cut that in half. Maddie is saying, oh, no, come to my bank. Another 31 days ago? I think so. So, interest at Maddie's bank, March 31st, June 30th, September 30th, December 31st. She can't give 5% every single time. Her bank will go under. She can't even do 2.5 every single time. She has to take that 5% and cut it into 4 parts.
Oh,
It's 1.2.
Thanks, Ellie. So basically, however many times a year your bank is offering interest, the rate gets divided by that. Isabel.
so if your bank was offering 12 a year, it would just every month you would get.
Yes. Now, after Maddie's bank, banks are saying, I'm not giving you that much interest. So Maddie's bank is about as far as it goes. But Isabel, I'll tell you this, if you borrow money from the bank, they charge you interest for sure every month. So giving you interest, they're like, I'm not giving you interest that much. But if they're charging me, every month they say, give me back my money, give me back my money. So a 12-month bank for giving interest doesn't exist. But if I'm paying them back, then it exists. Did I say the right way? Okay. Bryn?
For the payment period, it'd be 4 times 4 equals 16.
Oh my goodness, thank you. 4 times the first year, 4 times the second year, 4 times the third year, 4 times the fourth year, 16 times Maddie gave me interest in those 4 years. Thank you, Maddie. Whew. Move left twice, right? New exponent of 16. Allison?
Why did you put a 0 in front of 1?
Move the decimal twice.
Because you have to. Oh, wasn't it already in decimal?
In order to drop the percent sign, maybe I should have wrote that sign. In order to drop the percent sign, I have to move left twice. Remember that was in the equations that you were doing too in chapter 6?
Is there any more?
Did you do that?
So Godiva has it typed in. Okay, so the dollar amount looks the same, but at Maddie's bank, I'm having a bigger decimal. 9558191. Does money have all those spots?
I have a question.
5 tells 5. Bryn?
Never mind.
So if I was at Maddie's bank, I would get 60 cents more than Isabel's bank. And instead of Layton's bank, I would get $1.76 more. And at Pete's bank from yesterday, I would be at $4.80. Not that there's anything wrong with getting $80 extra from Pete. Of course I would like $80 extra from Pete. But these other banks are going to give me a tiny bit more every time. Again, if I have to drive to Duluth for Maddie's bank, probably not worth it. But if they're all pretty close by and they're easy to do business with, then I want to pick that bank.